Hey everyone, it's Deborah Poneman, founder of Yes to Success, where we provide tools and techniques for you to live your ultimate life. So the other day I was on a Zoom call with several people who teach transformational knowledge around the world, and most of us knew each other, but some of us didn't. So one participant made the suggestion that we each take about 10 minutes to share with the others what we teach, what our body of knowledge is. So I decided that instead of sharing what I've been teaching for the last 40 years, to make it a little bit more interesting. So I guess mostly for myself, but I decided to share not just what I've been teaching for the last 40 years in Yes to Success, but also the 4 elements of what I call the new success. And the people on my call just loved it. So I thought I'd share what I shared with them with you. So the new success, which is different than the old success, because the criteria for the old success was a big house, a nice car, and to top it off, perfect children. And the new success is more about looking into the mirror and really, really liking the person that you see. It's also about loving your life, come what may. It can be about having a new Tesla. That's totally cool. But it's also knowing your intrinsic self-worth if the Tesla gets repossessed or taken in the divorce settlement by wife number 3. It's about making a difference in the world and not about living for yourself alone. And the first element of living the new success is commitment to spiritual practices. And I say this one first because building a successful life is not possible without a spiritual foundation. It would be like trying to build a house or a physical building without a physical foundation. And the deeper the foundation, the more unshakable the building. And if there's an earthquake or tornado or a hurricane, it won't get blown over. The deeper our spiritual basis, the deeper our silence based on our spiritual practices, the more unshakable we'll be in the face of emotional earthquakes or social or political hurricanes or worldwide or personal tornadoes. Spiritual practices can be whatever brings you to that place of unshakable silence within. It could be meditation, breath practices, yoga, japa, dancing, drumming, as long as it's a regular practice and not just like whenever you're in the mood. Okay. And then the second element of the new success is commitment to your energetic practices. Now, there's a difference between a spiritual and an energetic practice, but both are necessary. A spiritual practice, again, would be meditation or yoga, or even going to church or temple regularly and going into like a deep state of prayer, communion with God. Anything that creates that inner silence. And when you come out, outer bliss and expansion. But it's a deliberate practice that you take time out of your schedule to do. An energetic practice would be something you do in the course of your day. For example, something like rejoicing in the success of your competitor, allowing yourself to be vulnerable, practicing forgiveness or radical honesty. When you see yourself saying something that isn't true, saying, you know what, I'm really sorry. That wasn't true. Can I have a do-over? Or having gratitude for the gifts that come into your life, even when the gifts come disguised as pain. When we do these energetic practices, we dissolve the barriers between us and everything our hearts desire. And when we do some of them, like something that scares us every day is an energetic practice, then we expand our lives. We expand our comfort zones. And the third element of the new success is living in what is called in Sanskrit, your Dharma. The word Dharma literally translated means the way. The way the word is more often used these days is that Dharma is the purpose for which you were put on earth, using your God-given talents, doing what makes your heart sing. When we're not living our Dharma, there's an emptiness in our own lives, and it creates a void in the matrix of the planet. And actually even chaos on the subtle levels of creation. When everyone is living their Dharma, the planet is going to be in balance. And it says in the Vedas, the sacred texts of India, that an age of enlightenment will dawn. And Dharma is just not about your vocation, but doing what you were born to do. It's the DNA that you're encoded with, the gifts that you were born with. When you're born with a Dharma, you're also giving everything you need to fulfill that Dharma. And in the Vedas, it says that when the dancers are dancing and the writers are writing, and this is a little sexist, but it says in the Vedas, when Papa is the physician and Mama throws the corn upon the grinding stone, then the earth will enter a golden age. And the fourth element of the new success is engaging in sacred activism. The term sacred activism was coined by a great writer and visionary named Andrew Harvey. Sacred activism, also known as spiritual activism, is defined as the coming together of spirituality and activism. It's an activism that comes from the heart, activism that is compassionate and kind and positive. It's also fierce, but it's not about being against something. It's about being for something. It's embodied by the quote from Mother Teresa, who, when asked why she wouldn't attend an anti-war rally, she said, "When you have a pro-peace rally, I will be there." So sacred activism is how we can channel our desire to make a difference in the world in a way that's kind and not fueled by anger, and create solutions and doesn't add to the problem. Andrew Harvey offers that the large-scale practice of sacred activism is an essential element for preserving and healing the planet and its inhabitants. I have a quote from him. He says this: "A spirituality that is only private and self-absorbed, one devoid of an authentic political and social consciousness, does little to halt the suicidal juggernaut of history. On the other hand, an activism that is not purified by profound spiritual and psychological self-awareness and rooted in divine truth, wisdom, and compassion will only perpetuate the problem that it is trying to solve, however righteous its intentions. When, however, the deepest and most grounded spiritual vision is married to a practical and pragmatic drive to transform all existing political, economic, and social institutions, a holy force, the power of wisdom and love and action, will be born. This force I define as sacred activism." So ways to engage in sacred activism are, well, for example, are you pro-immigration and you feel it's unconscionable to send mothers and children back to places where they will surely be traumatized at best or killed at worst? Instead of just ranting about it, see if you can work for an organization that helps immigrants. Maybe get attorneys, or once they do get in, maybe you could be volunteering to hold babies at an immigrant center. Or maybe you love children and you see that some of the social programs that were a lifeline for these children in the inner city were eliminated during the last administration. Well, sacred activism could be helping with legislation to put those programs back in place, or to reform the system, or to become a big brother or sister, or advocate for a kid who has no one to advocate for them, or join in a nonviolent protest. And I've shared with you before the story of my son and how he combines his love of basketball that he's had since he was a child, with one of his dharmas, which is his natural business abilities. So while seeing the conditions in the inner city of Chicago, he founded a nonprofit providing a platform for kids to get basketball scholarships. So that's sacred activism. Or his beautiful girlfriend, Amelia, same thing. She always loved gardening. They just bought a townhouse in the city of Chicago, and on one of the porches, she's turned it into a beautiful city garden with herbs and veggies and flowers. And she got her master's in social work. So she now works for a nonprofit called Growing Home that provides support for people who are formerly incarcerated by training them in urban gardening and also business skills by selling their produce at farmers markets and to local restaurants. So it gives them a way to support themselves, and also gives them support with issues like medical needs and childcare and housing, and starting them on a path to self-sufficiency. So she lives her Dharma as a social worker with her love of gardening. So sacred activism is not just marching for justice for formerly incarcerated individuals, which she also does, but also taking action. So, in summary, as I see it, these are the 4 elements of the new success. And by living your life based on these 4 elements, with also a heart full of love, you will live a life worth living. So that's it. Thanks for listening. Have a great week. Sending love to you.